you got questions about it, man. It's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. Real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
And here we go on this Monday evening in the city. We're supposed to get maybe some of the remnants of a Hurricane Beryl that crashed the Texas coast early this morning and is roaring through the state right now, up to 80-mile-an-hour winds. And last check, well over 2 million people without power. A lot of flooding going on, the whole 9 yards. And we're supposed to get the remnants of that maybe later on tonight, sometime into tomorrow. We could see a few isolated showers, thunderstorms with it as it continues to roll through. And then in the next stop, it'll be Arkansas, then kind of move through here and then move on out of here. But I digress. Welcome in to the big broadcast. This is the 8th day of July 2024. 6 o'clock straight up. That means it's time for another edition of Real Talk Memphis. I am your humble host. My name is Chip Washington. Very happy to have you all with us on this day. We have to admit one thing about the clouds and everything. It's not too bad on the humidity side, and the temperatures upper 80s. So we'll deal with that for the next couple of days. But as we roll on, again, I hope that you've had a good 7 days since the last time we had a chance to hang out. We're back here again tonight, fired up and ready to go with a great show in mind. Speaking of how you get this fine piece of radio broadcasting, which is what I just said, you can do it any number of ways. 91.7 on your FM dial here locally, WYXR, of course. You can catch us on the WYXR app, which means you can hear us anywhere across this country, should you choose to listen in. You can always catch us on the TuneIn app as well. We are live streaming the show this evening, so if you feel like hanging out with us on Facebook Live, you can do that as well. And we are also going to be, once the show is posted, you can catch us on YouTube, and you can catch us wherever you get your podcast, because you know we're a podcast, right? So we are. So in any event, several opportunities for you to be able to catch this radio show. And of course, I am always very humbled and very pleased and very happy that you decided to give us a shot. We have a pretty good show for you tonight. Now, some breaking news that I want to that just happened here a little while ago in regards to one of the subjects that we might be talking about in just a few minutes. But first things first, we are going to talk about the big election. Early voting starts this Friday. We have several municipal elections that are going on, 5 school board seats that are going on, some of the legislative and the congressional seats that are going on, not only locally, but through the statewide. And of course, everything is prepping and directing and prompting us towards the November election. So wanted to get Linda Phillips on. She is the Commissioner of Elections here in Shelby County, and she'll tell us a little bit about just kind of what is happening, what is coming up, what some of the races that are impacted, and we have some new machines and how you can use those as well. So a lot of pertinent information. Voting, whether you think so or not, is extraordinarily important, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to get out and exercise your right to do that as well. So we'll talk to Linda in just a couple of minutes. A little bit later on, we will be speaking with former Memphis police officer and former Memphis Police Association president. His name is Mike Williams. There's a bit of an issue going on at the police department these days in reference to, many of you are probably aware of the assistant chief, Shawn Jones, and the fact that it was discovered that he was not a resident of Memphis. He is still a resident of Atlanta, Georgia, where he came from with Chief Davis. Well, there's some breaking news on that just happened about 20, 30 minutes ago. A bit surprising to me, but then again, maybe not. We'll talk about that with Mike in just a little bit because he has some definite opinions about what is going on, not only with this case of the assistant chief, but the entire police department as a whole in reference to morale and a lot of other things. Look forward to talking to him. And a little bit later on, we haven't had our medical checkup around here in a while. In terms of various diseases or various other things that may be cropping up in and around the country that we need to pay attention to. I did read that COVID is up. Some of the numbers are up, not astronomically so, but just a bit to pay attention to. I did read this afternoon that the second gentleman, husband to Vice President Kamala Harris, he now has COVID. So, yeah, it's still out there. It's still moving around. And there's also something called the avian flu that is affecting some of our animals at an alarming rate. So Dr. Steve Threlkeld, our good friend, will be joining me a little bit later on in the broadcast to talk about all this. So good lineup of entertainment tonight, good lineup of speakers and talkers, and we hope to provide you with some great information. Before we do all of that, it is a Monday. It is time to celebrate you. If you have celebrated or are celebrating your birthday, either the last couple of days or coming up this week, this is the shout out segment, but we can't shout you out until I say hit it, Brent.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday going out to the following folks. Happy birthday, Kermit Moore. He's the president of the local chapter of the NAACP, and he watches the show every now and again. Appreciate you, Kermit. Happy birthday to you. Antonio Walker celebrating today, as is a good friend and a church mate of mine, Ward Lindsay. Ward celebrating his birthday today. Happy birthday, Ward. Calvin Valentine celebrating today, as is Tasha Morton, Patricia Van Zant, Joy Kreiner, Larry Smith, let's see here, Galleon Stewart, let's see here, Gina Marie, Linda Evans, and Gertrude Copeland. Now, since Lola's not here to do her thing, I'm going to do my thing. Tomorrow, my daughter, Brianne Nicole, is celebrating her birthday. So I want to wish her a very happy birthday. And on Wednesday, my wife, Wanda, is celebrating her birthday. So, yeah, big birthday week for me in particular in the family. So I want to wish each and every one of you a wonderful birthday. I hope it's filled with love and laughter. And, of course, from all of us here, we hope to be with you next year for your next trip around the sun. Thank you, Brand. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this, and this was in my news and notes this evening. Of course, a press conference was held within the last 30 minutes or so with the mayor of Memphis, Paul Young, and the police chief, the interim police chief, C.J. Davis. There has been a bit of conversation about the assistant chief. His name is Shawn Jones, assistant chief of the police department. He has been here since 2021. Recently found out that he is not a resident of the city of Memphis. Now, there is no law that says he has to be an official resident of the city of Memphis, but apparently that news has come out and has not been, let me say this, warmly greeted by a lot of folks, and it has prompted actually more questions from the media in reference to what this is all about. Well, turns out apparently this afternoon, according to Channel 5 and other news sources, that Assistant Chief Shawn Young is the Assistant Chief is no longer the Assistant Chief of the Memphis Police Department. Apparently, this afternoon, without a whole lot of fanfare, it was announced that Assistant Memphis Police Chief Shawn Jones is no longer the assistant police or employed with the Memphis Police Department. City officials announced this just a little while ago. He's served in that position since September of 2021. He came here with C.J. Davis, but remained in Georgia, where he previously served under her administration as the assistant police chief for the Atlanta Police Department until he retired from there. Well, again, there's been a lot of conversation lately about all of this, and he gets paid a robust salary of $188,000 a year, and people are looking for a little accountability there. And apparently, whatever happened today, the press conference with the mayor and the police chief said that Jones, quote unquote, never intended to live in Memphis as the police chief permanently. Well, you know what? That right there is something that you ought to marinate on for just a minute. But she stressed that the city's decision had nothing to do with his residency. Again, Tennessee law states does not permit restrictions on the residency of first responders. Friday afternoon, apparently, that particular passage about residency was removed from the Memphis Police Officer Manual. Interesting enough, that happened on Friday. So yeah, there's a few questions about all of this, but apparently that snowball rolling downhill started to get a little heavy. So they made a decision later on. We'll hear more about it, no doubt, as time moves along. So that is breaking news for those of you who had not yet heard that. Extreme hot temperatures out in the western part of the country. I don't know if you heard about it. Las Vegas, Nevada, it generally gets hot during the summertime there, but they set an all-time high record of 120 degrees. That happened yesterday. And, of course, in Palm Springs, California, which is no stranger to extraordinarily hot temperatures during the summer, they had a high of 129 degrees. Now, all up and down the western coast, from Washington State, Oregon State, all the way down through California and a few other states in between, and Nevada, temperature is just oppressive. Of course, we've seen wildfires break out, and this is just causing a great deal of stress for a whole lot of folks out there. Vegas has been over 112 degrees since last Wednesday, so that lets you know just how hot it is out in that part of the country. Over the weekend, a family is mourning the death of a 15-year-old boy, apparently by the hands of a 17-year-old, according to the Memphis Police Department. This happened on Friday night in South Memphis. The suspect, who is 17, has been charged with first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. And let me see here. There was something else I wanted to talk. You all remember the juvenile, he was 15 at the time of this incident, who shot and killed the watermelon vendor. That was about a year or so ago. The guy was selling, and they pulled up on him and robbed him, shot him, and he died 2 weeks later. The suspect at the time was 15 years of age. He's 16 now. He was released on bond recently, he decided not to show up for his court case, which meant there was a warrant out for his arrest. Well, he was arrested by U.S. Marshals this afternoon. He's now 16 years of age. He was arrested this afternoon at a residence in Memphis. He is in custody and will stay in custody until his trial date. And one final note for you sweet tooth lovers, this is the last week that you can get cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory. They close Sunday. The 14th is the last day that Cheesecake Factory will be here in Memphis. So you might want to get out there and get you a scoop or two, or get you a piece of pie or two and put it in the freezer for a while. That takes a look at news and notes. Brief look at that when we come back after the break. We'll get into the broadcast. What do you say on this Monday edition of Real Talk Memphis from the Carstown Concourse? I'm Chip. You know who you are. We'll take a quick break, and we'll get things started. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Located on the second floor of the Crosstown Concourse, the Memphis Listening Lab is a curated collection of music and music history that is open to the public 6 days a week. Vinyl Happy Hour happens every Friday between 3 and 5 p.m., where guest DJs from around the community will spin some of their favorite records. More information and a complete listing of upcoming events at memphislisteninglab.org.
Programming on WYXR is brought to you by a grant from Arts Memphis, who has been working behind the scenes for 60 years to support and amplify arts events, programs, and experiences that together make a more vibrant and accessible Memphis arts scene.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. And welcome in. If you're joining us this evening for the next hour, we really do appreciate you. And I really do appreciate our next guest. It's about to get busy around here. It is election season, ladies and gentlemen, and early voting starts this Friday. And I thought it would be good to do a bit of a review and give you some information that you may or may not know in reference to this election cycle. Very pleased to have with us a guest who has been with us before. She is the election commissioner of Shelby County. Her name is Linda Phillips, and Linda, it's great to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Chip.
Absolutely that. So listen, we're about to get into this here, and the early elections, the early voting rather, starts on Friday. So there are obviously some things that people need to know in reference to being able to vote in the early election, and then again in November. One of the things that we do have that will hopefully make things easier for the citizens and for you, new voting machines, correct?
We do have new voting machines.
Tell us about that.
They are much, much easier for everybody, and they produce a paper trail.
Okay.
So voters can be confident, and we can check. We will audit. After the election, we'll audit a certain number of precincts to make sure that everything is right.
So, as we're getting into this election, there are several seats up for grabs, 5 school board seats that are up for grabs, and we have, obviously, there are some legislative elections in reference to this locally and statewide and everything. What are some of the races that people need that people can vote in coming up here soon?
Well, obviously, everyone in the county can vote for the General Sessions Court clerk.
Mm-hmm.
And if you live in school board, Memphis Shelby County School Board divisions 2, 3, 4, 5, or 7, which is 5 of the 9 seats,
mm-hmm.
you'll be able to vote for your school board representative. The town of Arlington election is happening for those people who live in Arlington, and voters in Bartlett and Germantown can select a municipal court judge.
Okay.
Now, if you want to vote for the Tennessee House and Senate candidates, you will. This is a primary election, so a voter would need to select a political party because the purpose of a primary is to select the candidates for that party.
Right. So in reference to all of that, so there's a lot to chew on and digest. It seems to me that we're hearing a lot about interest-wise about the school board seats, as you mentioned. 5 of the 9 seats are up for re-election, so that seems to be generating a bit of attention. Linda, this time of year, in this kind of election leading up to a presidential election in November, is the interest level that you have seen through your years of experience usually kind of ratchet up, with elections like this?
Well, yes, voters turn out for elections that make a difference in their lives, and I think we can all agree that educating our children is a pretty critical part of civic life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing a lot of interest in the districts where there are those school board members. And of course, we're getting lots and lots of interest in the November election, but we got to get through August 1st in first time.
So in terms of registration, Linda, in terms of registration, is it too late to register for the August election? I mean, the early election, or do we still have some time on the clock on that? What's the timetable there?
No, the deadline to register to vote for the August election was last week on July the 2nd.
Okay.
But, we have a lot of people registered here in Shelby County, and if you're not sure, check. You can give us a call at 222-1200 during normal business hours, and we'll check. Or you can go to govotn.gov and see if you're registered. Now, if you're registered, and even if you're at a different address inside Shelby County, you can still go early vote and change your address when you early vote.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah. I highly recommend, if you've moved since you last voted, check and make sure first off that you're still registered. And if you are at your old address, just show up at early voting and change your address and vote all in one easy move.
Yeah, it sounds like you make it pretty simple. Now, you mentioned earlier, and of course, there's a lot of attention, even more so now, focused on the presidential election in November. By history, are presidential elections in Memphis and Shelby County something that a lot of people want to participate in? I mean, how do the numbers look versus other elections at other times of the year?
Well, most of our other elections are in the 20 to 30% turnout range, but presidential elections are generally between 60 and 65% of registered voters turn out.
That's big.
So they are, by and large, the biggest elections we ever have.
Yeah, I was, and looking at that, and especially considering what is happening these days, and where people are, and where the focus is, I would imagine that this is going to be the biggest thing. Now, one thing you did just talk about a second ago was the fact that if you have changed addresses, you can handle that situation during the early voting time, and of course that would probably be the best time to be able to do that correct? Am I correct in that?
That's correct. But if you want to wait until Election Day, you can change your address on Election Day. But the trick is you have to be at the right polling place for your new address. So you can't just...
Somebody's trying to reach you.
You can't put it any place.
Yeah. Well, and that's extraordinarily important as well in terms of people being able to understand that their vote needs to count, and you want to make it easier. Now, how long does the early election cycle start? It starts this Friday, and how long does early voting run through?
Well, it starts this Friday, and it runs through Saturday, July the 27th.
Okay.
And then Election Day, of course, is Thursday, August 1st.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds as if, you guys are ready. You're always ready. Again, do me a favor, or do our listeners a favor. Give us the information. If someone should want to reach out to your office and ask a specific question about this voting cycle, how can they do that?
Well, there's several ways. Of course, they can call us at 222-1200. I would guess that probably 95% of a voter's questions can be answered at shelbyvote.com. Or we also have a new text message service. So if you get onto our homepage at shelbyvote.com, and then you can click on our text service and you can text your question to us. So a lot of the questions are going to be automatically answered with our text bot, but if you're asking something complicated, we'll get back to you by calling you.
Well, for a lot of folks, voting is important business. It should be important to everybody out there in terms of the dynamics of this election. Any idea of just maybe kind of you mentioned it earlier, most of the general election cycles, in terms of a percentage this year for this particular early voting a segment of things, or the August election, how many any guess as to what the percentage might be of voters who would be involved in this?
Well, I think the percentage of voters is going to be higher in the 5 Memphis School Board District areas.
Yeah.
But we're planning for a turnout of 40%. typically it's more like 32%, but we want to have lots of equipment out there, and we don't want voters to wait. So.
Well, listen, Linda, it's always good to talk to you. Glad that you could take time to come on the program tonight and talk us through the upcoming election cycle. I'm sure we'll be talking more as we get into the presidential race down into November. But again, anybody have any information about any of this? Have any questions about it? You can go to shelbyvote.com. Linda Phillips, the election commissioner for Shelby County. Linda, thank you. It's great to see you, and best of luck.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
All right, be voter ready.
Always be voter ready. Thank you, Linda. Really appreciate you. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Some great information. I hope you were paying attention. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk a little bit about police business, so to speak, and a big breaking news item that happened in the last hour. We'll talk about it with our next guest. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. We'll take a quick break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest? Or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Support for WYXR comes from Team Clean. With more than 22 years of experience, Team Clean provides services for home, work, or studio space. Biodegradable cleaning products mixed with common sense and tailored to each client's needs. Estimates and information at weareteamclean.com.
Yo, it's Chemist here, host of Computer Noise Radio, and I'm here today to ask you to consider donating to WYXR. When you donate to WYXR, you're no longer merely a listener. You're a vital part of our WYXR community. Becoming a member is incredibly valuable for community radio, allowing us to budget, plan, and increase the ways we serve Memphis. Join us in shaping the future of local radio now at wyxr.org/donate.
Sunset Jazz at Court Square is a free, family-friendly jazz concert series hosted by Just Jazzin', located at 62 North Main in downtown Memphis. The series is held annually, every second Sunday of May through October, featuring a lineup of jazz artists, showcasing different styles from straight ahead to swing. More information can be found at sunsetjazzmemphis.com.
Laser Live returns to the Memphis Museum of Science and History, and this year, WYXR DJs are in the mix. The series features live bands in the AutoZone Sharp Planetarium set to a laser light show. Each show will also showcase a set by a WYXR host, and refreshments from Crosstown Brewing Company will be available. More information can be found at moshmemphis.com.
Support for WYXR comes from March 1 Music, presenting Billy Strings, performing 2 nights in Memphis at FedEx Forum, December 6th and 7th. Tickets on sale now. More information at billystrings.com.
Shannon and Cecilia here. Do you love stories featuring community changemakers in Memphis? Don't miss Just Bluffin', a feel-good podcast found online in the WYXR Podcast Network.
Access all our podcasts at wyxr.org.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening in the city. Chip with you. Glad to have you along for the ride. And very happy to have our next guest with us. I've not seen him, and we've not talked in quite a while. And it is always good to get his perspective on things because if nothing else, he is very honest and he's very straightforward, and he tells it like it is. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the broadcast, Mike Williams. Of course, Mike was a former Memphis police officer, and he was the former president of the Memphis Police Association. Mike, it is great to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, it's good to see you, man, and everything is well. We above ground, so that's a plus.
It's always a good thing when that happens, man. So listen, thanks for coming on the show tonight. So obviously there has been some conversation fairly recently about what is happening within the department in terms of the assistant police chief and the revelation apparently that he did not live here, but he maintained a residence in Georgia. Now, there is no stipulation that says that someone has to live here in order to serve here. But apparently the questions started to mount, and so did the pressure. And this was on my way in here, so I didn't get a chance to see it or hear it, but there was a press conference this afternoon between the mayor, and the current interim police chief, C.J. Davis, announcing that the assistant police chief is no longer employed with the Memphis Police Department. Now, did you have a chance to watch that press conference?
Yes, I did. And I think that Mayor Young and Chief C.J. Davis made the right decisions, was to sever ties with Mr. Shawn Jones.
So having said that, and you've been pretty outspoken, we've seen some interviews with you lately in reference to Chief Jones, and you didn't think, first of all, that he was a good fit. I know you keep a very close tab, a very close tie to many of your former colleagues within the Memphis Police Department, and there have been some questions for a while now in reference to the morale of the department, and you stated that Chief Jones may have had something to do with that in reference to it not being as high as it should be.
Yes, I believe that Chief Jones was responsible for a lot of the dissension within the ranks of the Memphis Police Department, in that he didn't know how to talk to people. He didn't know how to treat people. You having no ties to this city, you having no roots in this city, you can't just fly back and forth to Georgia and come in here and treat Memphis police officers any kind of way. Don't get me wrong, I understand it's a paramilitary organization. I understand that there has to be some structure and order, because without order, there's chaos. However, all of those individuals are grown people. And Shawn Jones was known to be very abusive in his language. He was known to be condescending to a lot of the officers, and not just the lower ranks, but even the upper ranks when they had their weekly track meetings. Some of those guys have served over 30 years in this city, and they have connections and roots to this city. A lot of them were born and raised here. They have a vested interest in the city, and I felt as though Mr. Jones just did not have a vested interest in the city, didn't really care. And there's some other things that I possibly know behind the scenes that I just don't think was conducive to being one of the top cops in this city.
One of the things that you said, I saw you in a recent interview, you said that you thought that this particular situation, although there is no precedent for Tennessee in reference to a person not living here but working here, but you thought that could have been a fireable offense. Do you still hold to that? Yeah. I mean, he's no longer, but do you still hold to that thought?
Well, I do understand that the House of Representatives and the legislative branch up in Nashville, they changed the law, I believe in 2022, in regards to there not being a residency requirement for law enforcement. However, my thing is, still on the MPD books was a policy that stated you had to live within 2 hours. They recently changed that policy, and this is what kills me, if that was an officer, they would have held him accountable and to the highest degree. But because it was Shawn Jones, go ahead.
No, I was just listening to you. I was just, go ahead.
But because it was Shawn Jones, see, all he did was went and changed the policy afterwards. And then they put policies in place like the criticism policy, because now he's coming under scrutiny he didn't want officers to be able to say anything in regards to what was going on with him. So they put a policy in place called criticism, which blatantly violated individuals' First Amendment rights. You can't tell me that I cannot talk about anything, because I can talk about politics. I can talk about what's going on in my community. I can talk about those types of things. But in that criticism policy, it clearly stated that you cannot criticize an individual on the Memphis Police Department, regardless of your position, regardless of what entity you worked in. And it was directed at those officers down at the Memphis Police Association. And of course, you know, that's something that's near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
Because I represented them for 10 years. And I'm not going to allow someone and just idly stand by while they put mechanisms in place to try to silence the voice of the officers of the Memphis Police Association. I can't do that.
You know, that policy that you referenced in terms of residency, they changed that on Friday. I mean, that this past Friday, just a couple of days ago, and which tells me that there was a lot of noise being made in reference to all of that.
That's called CYA, number one. And because it blatantly violated individuals' rights, they had to recall it the next day. Once attention was brought to light that they had actually issued that policy. So even in the press conference today, you know, questions were asked surrounding that policy, and quite naturally, Chief Davis and the mayor said, well, it hadn't been reviewed by the legal team, and I hadn't signed off on it. But I find it very hard to, and you and I, being former law enforcement officers, we know how the paramilitary structure works, and nothing is going to come out unless the chief knows about it, unless the deputy chief knows about it, unless it's been reviewed, you know, and all of that, you know, and all of this is just a bunch of cleanup to me. And that's providing a disservice to the officers, because it's directed at the officers. And I just want to make sure that if policies are going to be put out, then it's covering everybody from the top to the bottom, and nobody is immune to the policies that individuals are putting out.
Mike, you mentioned that you proudly represented the rank and file for 10 years as the president of the MPA. How difficult is it, or has it been for them to go out and do a very difficult job on a daily basis, when maybe some feel like they're not appreciated for what they do, especially internally?
Well, most definitely. When the morale is down, when they feel as though they don't have a command structure in place that actually supports them, then they have to, you know, they have to be very careful in how they move. You know, everybody here knows the Tyrese Nichols incident was egregious. From the word go. And whomever and however it rolls, that's how it rolls. And I don't think a lot of police officers supported that. But at the same time, you know, crime has continued to escalate in this city. You know, a lot of these officers are being shot at now. They're being shot.
Yes.
You know, they're putting their lives on the line every day. And they don't need the added stress of, well, I can't look to those that command me to support me. Rather, they try to use the heavy hand method to get me to do the things that they want me to do. Then they throw me under the bus and not necessarily support me when it comes to different things that are happening in the community to save themselves. And, you know, you and I both know, being former law enforcement officers, that they'll shut down on you because it's then a matter of self-preservation. And to me, that's doing a disservice to the citizens of the city, and the citizens of Memphis deserve better because of everything that's going on in this city. They need these officers to be out here with their heads on a swivel and to be doing the right things and trying to curb the increase in the violence that's perpetrated against the citizens in this great city. So we have to get rid of some of that. And one of the things that Mary Young said today that I agree with is that, you know, we have to make decisions that are going to be best for the citizens of the city of Memphis.
Right.
And if, in fact, we expect these officers to go out here and to perform, then they have to have true knowledge internally, because you and I both know most police officers have type A personalities.
Yeah.
So, and you have to stand in the gap against violence, to be able to walk up on criminals with guns and knives and this and that, and to walk into these dangerous situations. You can't have somebody that's timid or somebody that's going to kowtow and different things like that. So we just want to make sure that the path is clear for these officers to be able to go out and perform their duties to the best of their ability.
Mike, let me ask you one final thing. Earlier this year, after the mayor was sworn in, he put forth the appointment of Police Chief Davis to the city council to vote on. They rejected her in committee, 7-6, which told him, well, we're not going to try to move forward with this right now because there's a bit of a change. So that's why we added the interim title. As time has moved along, and take us to where we are right now, do you feel, based on what you know in your history with this department, do you feel that if this was brought up again by the city council for approval, which way do you think it'll go?
Well, I think there's still a 50-50 chance. I think in them getting rid of Shawn Jones today, that's an attempt to save Chief Davis, in that he was an albatross around her neck. Okay. And because of everything that's surrounding it, and a lot of the questions that came out in the press conference today was, Chief Davis, did you know these things? Did you know that he was responsible for bringing morale down? Did you know he was living in Atlanta and coming back and forth? Did you know he was changing policies and different things like that? So everything that he did, because she brought him in with her, is tied to her. So if, in fact, he would have stayed in this city and this would have continued to blossom and bloom and turned into something else, then that's a reflection on her, because as the chief of the Memphis Police Department, she's overall responsible anyway. So I think one of the strategic moves was to sever ties with Chief Shawn Jones, Deputy Chief Shawn Jones, so that they could possibly move forward with the reappointment or with the mayor's support to reappoint Chief C.J. Davis. But it still remains to be seen how it's all going to shake out.
Well, we'll be standing by, and we'll be, of course, watching this whole situation very closely. Mike Williams, former president of the Memphis Police Association, former police officer. Mike, thank you for your perspective and your honesty, and really appreciate having you on the show, man. And, you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Williams, boy, he saw that press conference, and he has he can speak to this because he worked in this environment for a long time, and he understands all of the dynamics, and we thank him. We'll take one final break, and when we come back, we're gonna go into the medicine cabinet and talk a little bit about what might be happening out there in this big country of ours that we might need to pay attention to. Dr. Steve Thurkel joins me in just a couple of minutes right here on Real Talk Memphis. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Support for WYXR comes from Lens Rentals. Based in Memphis and offering nationwide shipping, Lens Rentals offers online rentals for photography, videography, and lighting equipment from a full catalog of brands. More information on services and equipment at lensrentals.com.
The Soulsville Foundation is proud to support WYXR, offering fun family events all summer long, including the Stax Music Academy Summer Music Camp for kids grades 6 through 12, and the Stax Museum's Free Family Day every second Saturday of the month with crafts, music, and food trucks. Information on all Soulsville events and music memorabilia are at soulsvillefoundation.org.
Hey, I'm Amy, host of Sonosphere on Monday at 4 p.m. and you're listening to WYXR 91.7 FM Memphis. I'm here today to ask you to further your impact with the station with the city's soul by joining the ranks as a WYXR mid-level donor today. Join us in championing a more inclusive and informed world through the transformative power of the community radio. Visit midlevel.wyxr.org to become a mid-level donor at WYXR, where your investment paves the way for a brighter and more connected future. Mid-level donors enjoy exclusive benefits such as on-air acknowledgments, VIP passes to Raised by Soundfest, and the opportunity to step into the role of a guest DJ. More information about mid-level donations can be found at midlevel.wyxr.org.
Connect with Memphis on WYXR. We offer sponsorship opportunities that expose your brand to our loyal listeners who value local arts, culture, and music. Support public radio and be part of our community. Explore more at wyxr.org/sponsorship.
Support for WYXR, including our 2024 stereo sessions, comes from VIA Productions. Founded in 2003, VIA specializes in audience engagement, creating all types of video and audio content ranging from animation to documentaries. More information on how VIA can bring your brand story to life at viaproductions.co.
Yo, it's Chemist here, host of Computer Noise Radio, and I'm here today to ask you to consider donating to WYXR. When you donate to WYXR, you're no longer merely a listener. You're a vital part of our WYXR community. Becoming a member is incredibly valuable for community radio, allowing us to budget, plan, and increase the ways we serve Memphis. Join us in shaping the future of local radio now at wyxr.org/donate.
Laser Live returns to the Memphis Museum of Science and History, and this year, WYXR DJs are in the mix. The series features live bands in the AutoZone Sharp Planetarium set to a laser light show. Each show will also showcase a set by a WYXR host, and refreshments from Crosstown Brewing Company will be available. More information can be found at moshmemphis.com.
Support for WYXR comes from Lens Rentals. Based in Memphis and offering nationwide shipping, Lens Rentals offers online rentals for photography, videography, and lighting equipment from a full catalog of brands. More information on services and equipment at lensrentals.com.
Programming on WYXR is brought to you by a grant from Arts Memphis, who has been working behind the scenes for 60 years to support and amplify arts events, programs, and experiences that together make a more vibrant and accessible Memphis arts scene.
Support for WYXR, including our 2024 stereo sessions, comes from VIA Productions. Founded in 2003, VIA specializes in audience engagement, creating all types of video and audio content ranging from animation to documentaries. More information on how VIA can bring your brand story to life at viaproductions.co.
I'm Patrick Tamburino, host of the Techno Strategist podcast. Join me as we navigate the ever-evolving world of IT managed services and beyond. We'll explore everything from selecting the ideal tech partner to the forefront of cutting-edge technologies, all infused with my own unique perspective and hopefully a touch of humor. Don't forget to tune in to the Techno Strategist on the WYXR Podcast Network. For more information, head over to wyxr.org.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening in the city. Chip with you, along with a very good friend. He was with us. He was the face you saw almost every day on the local stations here in town when we were up to our neck in COVID. He is a reliable source. He is an infectious disease specialist, and he is a good friend. Dr. Steve Threlkel joins us now, and he's a little late, but he was taking care of a family emergency. You okay, my friend? Everything good?
I'm good. A little sweaty from getting over here, but yeah, I am. Great to see you.
It's great to see you too, my friend. So I wanted to check in with you. We hadn't had a medical checkup in a while to find out what was out there on the landscape. Now we do hear that COVID is starting to rise in some areas of the country, not in an emergence situation, but the numbers are starting to pick up a little bit. And then we heard this morning, or found out this morning, that the second gentleman, the husband of Vice President Kamala Harris, has COVID. So where are we with that these days?
Yeah, so it's significantly up, both presentations to the emergency department, admissions to the hospital, and even deaths. We've seen a couple locally and around the country. Before this, the wastewater, where you check the RNA and the wastewater and sewage water, that had gone up significantly. This is not a surprise, though. Every summer and every winter we have had this happen, summers included, during the pandemic. And what it is people during the extreme temperatures gather more inside, around each other, and that happens both in the extreme cold weather and the extreme warm, except that in summer they're traveling around, shaking up the snow globe all over the country and indeed the world, mixing these viruses and spreading them around more effectively. So we kind of expect it. We still see it, and we're seeing it now. And the important thing is to remember what to do to try to avoid it yourself. But most importantly, to protect those people that have immune deficiencies and can't take advantage of immunity the way most of us can.
So are we still in the, I hadn't heard about any new boosters coming out, but I mean, folks do need to be boosted up though, still, don't they? Especially with what you just said.
Yeah, and there's probably one coming out in the fall directed against some of the newer variants. You can never 100% keep up because it'll always be changed a little bit by the time you bring one of these vaccines to production.
Sure.
But the indication is that the vaccine that they have now being produced is going to be effective against the ones that we see now. So the recommendation by the CDC and those approval bodies will be that everybody who's eligible should take that vaccine. Certainly, as always, particularly those who are at risk for infections that are the worst, those who are immunosuppressed and those kind of folks.
When we were going through this full bore just a couple of years ago, you and I had we talked several times, but about these different mutations that will be coming through, and kind of what you just said. It's just every year there's something new, there's something different, and is it changing much? I mean, in terms of the COVID, itself, is it mutating? Is it changing much? Is it causing more of a problem in terms of resistance? I mean, what are you seeing in terms of that?
Well, what we're seeing is what we are used to kind of seeing in the flu, for example. They're kind of different but similar, and that is that this virus just keeps on changing. And as it changes its coat, our immune system from 6 months ago has a harder time recognizing this as a bad guy and killing it. And so these new variants that are coming out, KP3, KP2, they make up over half of the current viruses out there, and you didn't see any of these months ago. So it keeps changing, it keeps adapting, and so that's why the thing just doesn't go away. There's some viruses you get once and you have immunity to it, and that's it.
Right.
This one just keeps staying ahead of us, and it's likely to do that for the foreseeable future.
One thing that has gotten your attention, and I don't know if a lot of folks are really paying attention to it, around here or in other places, is the avian flu. Now, for those people who may have not heard of that or don't know what it's all about, please explain that to our audience.
Yeah, so the flu is when you really get a bunch of infectious disease people together, that's what they worry about coming up with the next awful pandemic. You think of 1918, where anywhere from 20 to 50 million people died of that during World War I, probably ended World War I, in fact. And what happens is the flu is really a bird virus. And so it spreads through ponds and so forth with migratory waterfowl like ducks and geese. Doesn't make them that sick usually. But occasionally one will pop up that makes birds really sick. And we've seen this with this H5N1 that people may have heard of. And it's just been killing turkeys and chickens, and they've had to destroy entire farms. And this has been going on for more than a year now. We saw this thing in 1977. We see it now, but it's been going on longer and more than we have seen in the past. And when that happens, you have what we call a really virulent virus, a virus that will just jump up and kill everything it infects in the species that it works in. you worry about those things jumping over to other animals, especially, of course, humans. We've already seen it jump to a number of other animals. Polar bears, for example, have been dying. We had a scare here a number of weeks ago where somebody went to Antarctica and they were around a bunch of penguin colonies. And oh, by the way, that's when they had a big outbreak of H5N1 influenza in the penguins. And this gentleman came back and got sick with a flu-like illness on the way.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully, we didn't have that, but you can better believe we tested him for it. And in the times that we do see this virus jump into humans on occasion, say in some agrarian village in China, you'll see that happen. And thankfully, it's kind of remote and doesn't spread to other people. But when it does, the mortality rate in humans is above 50% in a lot of those folks. And so think of COVID with a 50% mortality. And you can see the kind of fear that puts in us. And a reason now is it's going through all the cow populations. You've seen it in a number of states now, infecting cows, and thankfully doesn't make them terribly sick. And one person got it, and he just basically had a conjunctivitis infection, didn't make him sick. But if it acquires those mutations that allow that to happen, we get very nervous about that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's something that you just explained that we really hadn't really seen or heard a lot about in reference to that. But this is what you're talking about and what you're seeing in these various animals and other things that are happened. Would that then be relatively easy to contract as a human being, something like this?
Well, thankfully, it's not happened much to humans yet. The thing to watch out for, to keep in mind, is if it starts really spreading a lot in pigs, the receptors that pigs and humans have, microscopically are very similar. So that's when you should be a bit more nervous still, is when you see that sort of thing happening. There are two things about these viruses that you have to keep in mind. One is how contagious it is, what you just said, because if it doesn't spread around, it doesn't, it's not going to be a terrible thing. The other is the virulence. How deadly is it? You look back at the 2009 pandemic we had of H1N1 influenza, it was very contagious, but not very deadly at all. But that's just an accident. It could have been a lot more deadly virus than it was with certain difference in genetic mutations. Thankfully, it was not. But the one in 2026 may not be the same. And so we always have to be very careful. We try to stay ahead of producing vaccines against these different animal types. They have about 15 or 16 types of proteins on their surfaces. We only have 2 in the human population. So there's a lot of room for these things to mix and match and get into humans if that ever happens. And it's something that we keep very much on the horizon. One of the best places in the world, thankfully, that does that research is right here at St. Jude Hospital.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, as always, my friend, keep us posted on these things. You and I keep in pretty close contact with one another, and we'll keep an eye on it. But in the meantime, thank you, my friend, as always, for being at the ready, and thank you for always providing us with wonderful information. It's great to see you. I hope you stay well, and I look forward to talking to you down the road, my friend.
Thanks so much, Chip. Always great to see you.
You too. Dr. Steve Threlkel, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps it up for this Monday edition of Real Talk Memphis. Glad to have you with us as Brent plays us out. It's been a good show tonight, a lot of information. I hope that you got something out of it. I know I always do. If you like what you hear, if you like the conversation that we tend to have around here, if you like the guests that we provide, go out and tell somebody. Okay, we're continually growing, continually trying to improve. Patricia Rogers says, good show. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. For all the rest of you, thank you for being a part of the show tonight. Thank you for being a part of our legion of folks who check us out on a regular basis. If the Lord says so, we'll be back here next week, same time, same station. We'll try to do it all over again, just a little bit better. For Bryn, for Lola, for myself, you take good care of yourself and you be safe. I'm Chip, and we are out. See you soon.